Jesus of Nazareth believed he was the Messiah. This belief fueled his journey to Jerusalem, the heart of Jewish life. He arrived during Passover, a time of celebration and reflection. The city teemed with pilgrims, all gathered to observe this sacred festival. Jesus, however, sensed a corruption at the core of the celebration. This corruption lay within the temple, the most sacred site in Judaism. The temple courtyard buzzed with activity. Merchants and traders filled every corner, their voices blending into a cacophony of commerce. Money changers exchanged Roman currency for temple coins, their tables laden with silver and gold. The clinking of coins was a constant backdrop. Animals, intended for sacrifice, crowded the space. The bleating of sheep and the lowing of cattle added to the din. To Jesus, this bustling scene signified a perversion of faith. The sacred space had been turned into a marketplace, a den of thieves. He saw the temple as a house of prayer, a place for spiritual connection and reflection. It was meant to be a sanctuary of peace. Instead, it had become a marketplace driven by greed and profit. His anger ignited as he witnessed the corruption. He overturned the tables of the money changers, scattering coins across the stone floor. The sound of metal hitting stone echoed through the courtyard. He drove out the animals and merchants, his voice echoing through the stunned crowd. "My house shall be called a house of prayer," he declared. This act, known as the cleansing of the temple, was a powerful indictment of the religious authorities and their practices. It was a call to return to true worship. The Pharisees, a powerful Jewish sect, witnessed Jesus' actions with growing unease. They were the religious leaders and scholars of the time, deeply rooted in tradition and the laws of Moses. They were already wary of his growing popularity and his pronouncements about the kingdom of God. His teachings often contradicted their interpretations of the law, which made them feel threatened. The cleansing of the temple escalated their fears. They saw it as a direct challenge to their authority and a threat to the fragile peace they maintained with Rome. This act was not just a religious statement, but a political one as well. Roman rule over Judea was a source of constant tension. The Pharisees feared that Jesus' actions, perceived as subversive, would provoke a harsh response from the Roman authorities. They were concerned that any disturbance could lead to severe repercussions. They feared an uprising, a rebellion that would bring down the wrath of Rome upon Jerusalem and its people. The Pharisees were acutely aware of the delicate balance they had to maintain to keep the peace. Their concerns were rooted in a desire for stability, even under Roman dominance. They believed that maintaining order was essential for the survival of their people and their way of life. As Jesus continued to preach and challenge the status quo, the Pharisees plotted against him. They were deeply unsettled by his growing influence and the way he questioned their authority. They saw him as a threat that needed to be silenced. His teachings were radical, and his growing number of followers only added to their fear. They began to conspire, seeking a way to arrest him without inciting a riot. The Pharisees knew that any misstep could lead to an uprising among the people. Their efforts would ultimately lead to betrayal, a betrayal from within Jesus' inner circle. This betrayal would come from someone he trusted, someone close to him. The air in Jerusalem crackled with tension. The city was a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Jesus' presence, his words, his actions had ignited a powder keg of unrest. His message of love and justice resonated deeply with the oppressed. His followers, inspired by his message, grew in number. They believed in his vision of a better world, one where everyone was treated with dignity. But within this growing movement, seeds of doubt and fear began to take root. Not everyone was convinced, and some began to question his motives. The shadow of betrayal loomed, threatening to shatter the fragile hope that Jesus had ignited. The tension was palpable, and the stakes had never been higher.